Okay, we're live for episode number 15 on Magic Round. Hopefully there's no more gremlins. It just nearly blew my head off through my headphones, the gremlin that came in. We're just about to talk about the first match of Magic Round here with the NRLW last night. That was a great game. And Scotty's Queensland girls just failed to flutter and they got smashed by two of my tips, which were Isabel Kelly and Jessica Surgis. And I relied on his Tamika Upton, and she didn't come up for our treble. But we got our money back, so we've got a bit of money to play with for this NRL first game, which is Cronulla and Eels tonight at Suncorp Stadium for the Magic Round. So let's get into some of the interesting ins and outs. Now, Kyle Ero is back from his injury, so I think that's going to make a big difference to Cronulla. Yep, they got beaten when they should have won that game several times against West Tigers, but West Tigers showed so much tenacity at Leichhardt last week. Parramatta going to show up. I know Scotty's tipped Parramatta, but we're going to stick with the Sharks here. And let's owing to the inclusion of Kyle Ero. I think he's one of the better centres in the game. And hopefully he has a really big game. Let's go to the next page and go to our TAB, go on to our sports, and we'll look for value. So as I said, last week we did pretty well, 20-1, 25-1, and a 50-1 treble. We also got another double at 20s and another double at 10s and 9s, just the two legs. And if you can have them a few times, then you're at least getting your money back and then hoping for that treble to get up. If it doesn't get up, at least the double's covered you and you usually win $10, $20, $30. We're not pushing big bets here on every point's a winner. So we're just going for the value. So what we'll usually do is we'll try and shoot for at least as our banker, as our mainstay tip, we'll go for it even money or $2 back. And then we're going to shoot a little bit wider, whether it be centres or just regular try scorers, or even mix it up with some big forwards, which have been very dominant over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So that'll give you the value in the two-leg parlay. So let's go to the sports, NRL, and have a look at this first game. Cronulla's come up at $1.48. And this first game is at 6 o'clock, so that's a little bit earlier than usual. And then the second game is at 8 o'clock with Sydney Roosters versus Dolphins. That could be a very interesting match. They're both $1.90. Thereabouts, $1.90. So, but this game is Cronulla $1.48, Parramatta $2.65. So let's have a look here. On the ladder, Cronulla are running 7th and 16th Parramatta after that horrendous start and all their new players getting used to each other. And hasn't it been a blessing for Moses to come back? He's made such a difference to the Parramatta side. So let's go straight into the anytime try scorer. Ronaldo's come up very skinny with Samuel Stone Street. We might leave them, put them on the shelf and leave them and go for a little bit more value there. I don't want to stand out Josh Adokar, but he is great value there at 210, a prolific try scorer. Britton Nakora, another prolific try scorer, 250. Iongi at 260. He hasn't been forgotten about. And even KL Ero is actually really, really skinnier than what I thought because he's a prolific try scorer. He scored 4 times before he got injured in a row. So Nicholas Hines is always a bit of value, but he doesn't run the ball enough for you to really stand him out as a banker. Occasionally he'll get 1 try every 4 or 5 matches. But just looking here, let's go for, since I'm tipping the Sharks, we really want to stand a banker out for the Sharks. So let's make it Kyle Ero. Kyle Ero at 280 is your banker. Chuck in William Kennedy, another quite a prolific try scorer at 275 for your second leg. Let's do Britain Nakora on your third leg. So you got 3 Cronulla and the 2 Parramatta ones. Let's chuck in Bailey Simonson at 225 and 2 more for Parramatta. I'm just going to run it by you here for a second. Josh Addo-Carr, as I promised you, and Iongi as the next. You can also chuck in Will Penasini as your 6th leg, but I really don't want to stretch my budget too much in that selection. Okay, we've got a few sirens outside. We got power this week, so it's great that we could bring this show to you, because last week we had no power for 48 hours and I was not a happy camper. Lucky North Queensland brought some good big bickies to us. So let's get on to the next match. So it's Cronulla. I would suggest to you to have, I don't think it's going to be a 13 plus Cronulla. I still think it's going to be a tight match, especially with Moses in there. I think 1 to 12 Cronulla. And if you're desperate, chuck in Parramatta 1 to 12. I know Scotty's tipped Parramatta, but I'm going the fact that Kyle Iro is back, and we've also made him as one of our bankers. Tough match though. Britain Nakora is a prolific try scorer. I was going to use him as a banker, and you could also throw in Stone Street or Ronaldo, but we're going to go for Josh Addo-Carr as our value there. So the next game, Sydney Roosters and Dolphins. Let's have a look at the ins and outs as we go back to the NRL page here. And the ins and outs for this game. Last time they played it was Roosters 40, Dolphins 37. So you're really going to expect a free-flowing match. And after last week, Dolphins can definitely throw it around, but whether they can finish off the match, Wolfie's got to really address that this week. And looking at the team list here, let's have a look at the ins and outs. Taylor Lasalu is in for East. Harrison Graham. Marshall King's back. That's a big help. Max Feagai is also back for the Dolphins. And Keeley, Oren Keeley. Outs is Daniel Saifidi, Kenny Bromwich, and Nafahu. So let's go and have a look here. This is a real tough match. I reckon you could split your bet and go Dolphin 1 to 12 or East 1 to 12. I can't see it being a runaway to either side. I know Scotty has tipped Dolphin here, especially being up in their home ground of Suncorp, up in Brisbane. Let's go back a second and we'll go and look for value here. Sydney Roosters versus Dolphins. $1.90 head-to-head, both of them, as I said, Dolphins and Roosters. And looking at the anytime try scorer here, Daniel Tupou's come up very skinny to $1.85. Jermaine Osako, hang on, there's a freaking ant. Where the hell did you come from? Yeah, there's a few ants coming in here after the rain. We had massive amount of rain over the last 2 or 3 days. And so they're looking for a new house, the bastards. Excuse the French. Mark Nawakutawazi is also very skinny at $1.90. I couldn't take Mark at $1.90, sorry. Jack Bostock, bit of value there at 2 to 1. Hamisai Tabua Fado, also 2 to 1, a little bit skinny. Billy Smith's come in skinny here at 275, but they know he's a little bit of a prolific try scorer. Jake Averillo at 3 to 1 is always great value, but he tends to go over every second match. And another one you really got to take on trust is Cody Nikorima. Only scores once every 4 or 5 matches. You just don't know when that's going to be. But looking at their big forwards, Spencer Leniu for how much of a run is Spencer going to get? You can take the 8 to 1. Same with Nafahu White. He's very solid when he comes on. Ray Stone 9 to 1 is a really hardcore player. and so is Josh Kerr. But how much time are these boys going to get? Let's stick over to the middle. I don't want to totally throw out Isaiah Katoa. He nearly went over last week when we stood him out as a banker against Canberra. But as I said in the first part of the presentation before it got cut out by Gremlin, was that we did not have Fogarty, even though I wanted to swap him out. And Fogarty killed us when he went over and threw that dummy for Canberra's big comeback. So let's have a look here. Sandon Smith, got to take him on trust. Yes, he had a blinder on Anzac Day. I don't really want to send out Jake Everolo unless I got a horse's whisper in my ear that he was going to score. Let's chuck in Jack Bostock. I feel we're going to go for a banker here, and I really like the Dolphins here. As much as East could also win this game, it's a very even game, playing field up there at the moment. There's no rain as far as we know, and they put all new turf down from the game last night of the women, the NRLW first State of Origin, convincingly won by Sydney or New South Wales. And our two girls collected the Beckies beautifully. All right, Jack Bostock is the banker here for Dolphins. I'm going to chuck in second leg, and I'm going to really mix it up here. James Tedesco at 250. And then we're going for Billy Smith at 275 for East. And then we're going to block it out with some bigger boys for the Dolphins. I shouldn't leave Jake Everly. If I'm going to put him in at all, it'd be going into one of my sixth legs that I've really mixed up. But let's chuck in Angus Crichton to score here at 350 because he's very good value. Put the ball down, Angus. Make sure it goes across the line and you don't drop it. And I'd really think the value there is Jeremy Marshall King. How much time is he going to get? You could throw any of those big boys in there. Mark Nichols at 7-1, or Spencer Leniu. Excuse me for scratching my nose. I got caught in the rain for the last 2 or 3 days walking back from the closest suburb, and I got totally drenched, and my nose has been running ever since, and it was freezing. Always take an umbrella with you. But I went up there to the next suburb when it was totally sunny, and we are getting mad tropical weather here at the moment, very much like Melbourne. But luckily, so far, there's no rain up in Brisbane as to what we've looked at in the charts last night. So chuck in Ray Stone, Josh Kerr, and Spencer Leniu for your 4th, 5th, and 6th leg there. Okay, let's get on to the next match, and that'll be tomorrow, Newcastle and South. Not looking forward to this one. Let's have a quick look at the ins and outs. Going to the NRL website here. Just make sure that's picking this up. Don't want any gremlins coming back, just in case the audio doesn't work. And let's have a look at the team list and the ins and outs. Geez, South have got quite a few coming back here. It looks like Thomas Fletcher's back. Atata, Tor, Hubner is back. He's been playing well before his injury. Josh Schuster and Fletcher Myers is back. Ins also for the Knights, Adam Elliott. That's a big help. That is a big, big help. Jacob Safidi's back. Tyson Gamble from his broken nose. He had surgery, I believe. Kyle McCarthy, hot and cold player. Well, don't talk about Knights. Beautiful Knights here behind us. It's very, very hard to sit and watch what they're going through at the moment. It really is difficult. Nazareth Tor is back as well. We stood him out 1 week, and I think we got our money back because he didn't get a run. Okay. That's a big plus. We've got some forwards here that can make a big difference. Dylan Lucas is back. I think this is a game, Newcastle. If they can't win this, get your bags, pack up, go back to Marathon, and don't play anyone else. Forfeit the competition. Honestly, if you can't beat South here on Magic Round, I don't know whether you're going to expect to get any more crowds at Marathon because you've been playing so poorly, so poorly. You know, I've followed them for 5, 6 years now, Newcastle Knights, and they're just crushing my heart. But anyway, I'm not the only one that's disappointed with them. A lot of experts and sports people are calling for the head of Adam Elliott, the coach, and let's give him a chance here. He's finally got some forwards back. Let's go Newcastle 1-12, and I'm going to spin you out here. Even though they're favourites at $1.73 head to head over the Rabbitohs 2.11, because Rabbitohs have been very, very hot and cold so far. And I believe that Scotty has tipped South. But let's go to the footy tab and see if we can get some value here for you. And this, of course, is the match for tomorrow. And South $1.95 at the line, plus 1.5. There's not much value there. And negative 1.5, 185 for Newcastle. Last time they played, it was 36-16, a 20-point victory. That was round 25 when Newcastle were making that big bid to get to the playoffs, which they did. They scraped in over the Dolphins to get in there. Try scorers. Let's go here. James Schiller, $1.09. Hang on, that's the wrong. Is it the right game? James Schiller. Okay, yeah, that's for the Newcastle. That's right. $1.90. I wouldn't think it was $1.90. Isaiah Tass 2-1, even money. Greg Marju, $1.95. Fletcher Sharp, $2.75. Kalen Ponga, geez, he hasn't got over in a long time. Bradman Best hasn't either. $2.75. Let's open up here. Looks like Campbell Graham is back. That's a big asset for South, though. And let's see if we can have a banker here. Cogger is still there. Phoenix Crossland, he has been playing awful late. He's usually a very good defender, but he's done some outrageous things lately. They're just not talking to each other. But at least with Adam Elliott back, it could make a big difference. This Jacob Saifidi is 8-1. I wouldn't really want to be standing out any of those Newcastle forwards. Let's look for value here and take Dylan Lucas to score at 3.25. He's had that first run back from the spell. Second game, I think he's going to play well here and stretch out a bit more. Let's chuck in Dylan Lucas. I'm expecting a nice pass off the edge from Fletcher Sharp right into Dylan Lucas's hands. So Dylan Lucas is the banker there for Newcastle at 3.25. That's a really good banker. Let's chuck in Bradman Best just in case the whole of Newcastle lift at 2.75. Jai Gray is my third leg for South at 2.70. Looking around that, one more for South. I'll go Colin Matangi at 4-1. He's not known as a prolific try scorer, but just got a feeling he'll go over here and good value there. And for the fifth leg, let's chuck in Adam Elliott at 10-1. Yes, it's his first run back from the spell. I've just got a feeling he's going to go over on the burst close to the line. Okay, let's get on to the next match. And as I said, I would be crazy to tip Newcastle 13 plus, but I think have them both. I think Newcastle 1-12 and 13 plus. And if I have egg running down my face, I'll still wear my Guernsey with pride, but it'll be very, very sad day if Newcastle cannot lift here, especially starting favourites up at Magic Round. Now, the next game is at 5:30. That's at 3 o'clock, the Newcastle and South game. So there'll be no excuse there. Warriors versus North Queensland. This is a game that could go either way. Let's go and have a look at the ins and outs of the sides. At 5:30, as I said, team list here, ins and outs. Wow. Edward Cossey is back for the Warriors. Tiari Martin is back. That's pretty good. He's a pretty consistent player. And Tuivasa is back for Jeremiah Iramira Tavara is back for the Warriors here. And Tanner Stowers-Smith. And out is Jacob Laban. In for Cowboys is Zach Labour. We've got a good opinion of Zach Labour. Thomas McKelly is back with Caden Lahers and Kai O'Donnell. So pretty strong teams, both of these. The only thing I do query is the Kiwis or Maoris, Auckland Warriors away from home in Auckland, and they won at Christchurch recently, but they're a much better side. They lift a lot more in front of that home ground support. That's my only query here. And Cowboys are in such sizzling form. So we're going to narrowly stick with the Cowboys here, but I will promise you, I will also, in my margins, have Warriors 1-12 and Cowboys 1-12. I think this is such a tough match. So let's look for the value here in the try scorers. I reckon it's going to be a big forward display here. So let's go to the TAB and see if we can find you some value. And just looking here, Warriors are running 4th and North Queensland Cowboys at running 6th. Just both in the top 8. As I said, this is going to be a cracker of a game. Murray Talangi is basically scored his last 5 games. $1.90. Pompey. Adam Pompey is even money 2-1. Robert Darby here. Been scoring regularly lately. Is 2-1. Jackson Purdue 265. Let's not go any further than Jackson Purdue. He has been collecting us every week, Jackson Purdue. And if you have a look at the little emblem, we took his photo, and he's on this advertisement here. Jackson Purdue. Let's stand him out. I'm a big fan. You know how much I love Jackson Purdue, and especially for any time try scorer. Here's our banker, Jackson Purdue, at 265. I'm giving a great value here. I'm going to go a little bit wider here and say Ali Leatoa. Ali Leatoa over there in the centres at 3-1. I'm also going to stand out Thomas Dearden for your third leg. Thomas Dearden at 325. He nearly went over last week. Geez, he played his guts out. And I'm tossing up between Jake Clifford and Luke Metcalf. To chuck them both in, so you can have Luke Metcalf as a 5th leg, but Jake Clifford as your 4th leg. Now, outside of that, you can have any of these players because they're all great players. Wade Egan, Reece Robson, all big fellas that can score. Nia Corey, 650. They're all great value. Even Mitchell Barnett at 650 and Aaron Clark, not a great try scorer, but you can have any of those for your 6th leg, your 5th and 6th leg. You guys decide. You know who they are. Very, very good matchup. To me, that's the biggest game apart from the Melbourne game and the Broncos game. So these are the games I'm mostly looking forward to. But on the same draw card is the West Tigers versus St George, Illawarra. St George not even favourites here. West Tigers after that Golden Point victory over Cronulla at Leichhardt, 177. St George 205. running 9th on the ladder, West Tigers, and 10th outside the 8 as well is St George Illawarra. Let's have a look. Last time they met, that was round 14. It was a disgraceful effort from Tigers. They got thrashed 56-14. I don't think it's the same side. It certainly isn't the same side with Luai and all the youngsters playing a lot better these days. And Terrell May has to be the buy of the NRL season so far. No doubt about it for the West Tigers. He's up there. I would be very surprised if he doesn't get a run in the State of Origin. Very, very surprised. Okay, let's have a look at the value here. Have we got? I think Christian Tuipulotu is still out. We need to go back and have a look at the sides. I think he's still out with that hamstring. They're probably giving him an extra week off here. So let's have a look. Team lists, ins and outs. Yeah, he's not listed at all here, Christian Tuipulotu. And I think that's been one of the thorns in the side for St George. I really do. But their middles aren't great. Haven't been great. I can't tip them. When I tip them, they lose. When I don't tip them, they win. But I don't think I'll be tipping them here. I think Tigers, even though Scotty's gone for Dragons here to bounce back. How much? The question is, how much did that game spend on West Tigers' energy? Did they have enough time to refresh? That is a big question. So let's have a look here. Sione Finer is out for St George. Solomon Fartape is also out. That's a big loss. Tristan Hope is coming back. Lola Lily, Mason and Charlie Staines is back. Prolific try scorer. So let's go back to the page of the tab. And Sunia Turuva, has he settled down now? I think he has. $1.85 leads the market here. Terrell Sloan, $1.95. That's pretty good value. If you want to have Terrell Sloan as your banker, he's been scoring the last 3 or 4 matches in a row. So that's a pretty good banker. We might come back to him, and if not, have him as a second selection there. Valentine Holmes, take him on trust. I had him last week, wasn't seen. Disappointing. Adam Dewey, another one. You really want to stand out a prolific try scorer here, and there really isn't one amongst either sides, pound for pound, except Sunia Turuva. Jareem Buller's a consistent try scorer. Let's stand him out. Jareem Buller for the West Tigers at 2.30. He's going to be our banker. I really have a feeling for him. Then we can chuck in Terrell Sloan. Yes, you're taking 5 cents under what my criteria is, where you start at even money or $2 for your dollar. So $1 for $1. So I would suggest Terrell Sloan there for your second leg. I don't want to chuck in Sunia Turuva until the 5th or 6th leg. So let's go wider and go for the value here. Gutherson let me down last week. He let many people down last week going for 2 intercepts. And East just run roughshod over them. Dylan Egan, how much of a game is he going to get? Kyle Flanagan, heads or tails whether he's going to play well. Damien Cook hasn't scored for ever and a day. Luciano Leilua, how much of a game is he going to get? They're just using him as a utility now. Do we have to go so wide out to Alex 12? Crikeys, I don't like this game as much, so I wouldn't be putting as much on this game as the other games. I really wouldn't. I'd rate it a 60% of a pickup here. Where is Charlie Staines? Is still only 2-1. God, they're not really taking much of a risk here. The tab or the bookmakers or the sports bets. Charlie Staines 2-1. let's chuck him in anyway. Charlie Staines. Gutherson, forgive that champion one run. Chuck him in at 3-1 for your fourth leg. And for your fifth leg, Samuela Fainu at $4 there. I can't have Dewey. And Luai has just been setting up tries. Coruscant, if I had a sixth and seventh leg, but I don't want to go so wide on that game. I'm tipping West Tigers 1-12, but you can have both teams, St George 2, bounce back at 1-12 as well. I can't see either of those running away with it. 13 plus. I think it's too much of a tight match. The Sunday games, as we run through here, the last three matches, Gold Coast versus Bulldogs. I expect Bulldogs to bounce back here, but up there, Gold Coast will probably lift a little bit. Last time they played, it was 40-24, and Canterbury rode roughshod over them, smashed them. That was in round 2 when Desi's Chargers were not firing a shot. So let's go to let's have a look at the ins and outs. That could give us a little bit of a clue what's going on here. And there it is at 150. Geez, that's early. Yeah, okay, to get the last three matches in, I guess, being a Sunday. Head-to-head, 370 Titans if you want good value, but I couldn't have them with bad money or good money. $1.28. Bulldogs, very, very skinny. Let's have a look at the team list and the ins and outs. Crikey's. Alan Fitzgibbon is back, so I guess if they're going to place him in on the wing. Fala Solomwali, his brother Isaac is back. Tony Francis, Cleese Haas is back. If he wasn't so clumsy, I'd really classify him as a good player. Not the player his brother is, but anyway, Brock Gray is out. Jamin Jolliffe is also out. Josh Curran, of course. Matt Burton, Tupanua, they're all serving sentences after that bashing. Well, they tried to bash the Broncos, but it was in the reverse. Broncos put it on the score and bashed them mentally. So Drew Hutchins back, Blake Wilson is back, Blake Taff, Lippo Hopu, Jake Turpin is back. Drew Hutchison, I'm not a big fan of Drew Hutchison, to be honest with you. Luke Smith. I don't know. I think Titans are going to lift here, but I can't tip them. I really can't. Let's go for the value here. We might get some value here on the TAB. Could be a pretty open scoring match, you would think. Don't think Canterbury are just going to not throw the ball around. I can't see that happening. But let's go to the anytime try scorers. Khan Pereira, you let me down last week in that game. I really needed you because I had all the other players in the third leg with you. Bronson Sherry, well, we didn't get a bet on the Canterbury game because we had no power. I could have run next door to the TAB that was there, but I couldn't be bothered. And of course, our two prolific try scorers in Jacob Preston and Bronson Sherry went over. But anyway, you can't get them all. You can't bet every race. You can't bet every game. So that's why that previous game, the West Tigers and George, I really could even stand to the side, but it's not one of my favourite games to play in that one. So that we'll be reducing the amount of expenditure on it. Bronson Sherry is a perfect prolific try scorer here, 225. Let's stand him out as the banker here. And let's have a look at the other selections here. Jacob Preston, 3-1. AJ Bremson, I think he'll score here, 350. Put him in for your second leg. I do like Brian Kelly, but every time I have him, he doesn't score. Every time I don't have, he's one of those players. Just gets under your guard, Brian Kelly. Chuck in Beau Fermor. He's a prolific try scorer, Beau Fermor, and he's really, really playing well. I'm sure he's trying to play to get some representative duties happening. Beau Fermor, 450, great value there. I'm going to throw you a wide one here in Kurt Mann. I know he won't get the full game, but I think Canterbury will be playing better. And when Canterbury play better, Kurt Mann plays really, really well. So hopefully he gets a few more minutes than he usually does because he's 6-1 there. But you're taking him on trust of how much time he's going to get on the field. Curtis Moran's another one. And Daniel Fafita for the Bulldogs. He went over nearly in his debut match, but he's 8-1. How much time is he going to get? Tino Fasamawala Ali is 7-1. Tom Weave, I'm not impressed with him. Let's just stick with the ones we're giving you so far and chuck in Reed Marnie here to go over from dummy half. Reed Marnie. Harry Hayes hasn't scored for a long while, but his value, yet again, how the bench is used, it's a risk because how much time are they going to get, these players? And then you can go back to Jojo Jafita would be your fifth leg there, fifth or sixth leg. I can't have Stephen Crichton. I think he'll be doing too much organising to score, but it wouldn't surprise me if he went over. So Canterbury there, 1-12 and 13 plus. Can't see the Gold Coast. Although I think they'll play better than what they usually do, I can't see them beating the Dogs there. Let's get on to the second last match, and it's Penrith. Is it Penrith? Yeah, it's Panthers versus Broncos. Broncos running fifth. Panthers stone motherless last. Just have a look and see who's in and who's out. Once we go back to that other page. And this game is at 4:05, so two fairly early games here on the Sunday. What are you doing on a Sunday? If you're chilling out and you can watch it, well, lucky you. Ins and outs for the boys here. Billy Scott is in for Panthers. Jack Cole's back. Luke Garner, he's a very good defender. He's back. Trent Tolo is back, and Luron Patea is back. Now, also in for the Broncos is Jordan Ricky, big plus there. Jock Madden, Takura is back, and Joshua Karapani. Brad Snyder's out for the Panthers. So that hasn't changed my mind too much. Who's going to turn up? Which Panthers side is going to turn up here? And in front of their home crowd here, Broncos, I can't see them losing this match. Though I think it's going to be a lot tighter than what people are giving Penrith credit for. And one of the main reasons I think that Luke Garner is back. And also you have Liam Henry, Liam Martin for Penrith. Scott Sorensen's playing the 11. Luke Somerton the 9. Leota's been out of form lately. Cleary needs the lift here. Jenkins has been disappointing. No, I've got to stick with Broncos here. And let's have a look at, see if we can scrape up some value here on the penultimate game of the Magic Round. And then we're going to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen, and put our bets on and see how we go over the weekend. Hopefully you have a nice weekend. It's been really crummy weather lately in Sydney. Raining. I'm suffering a little bit of a head cold, as you may be able to hear. All my nasal passages are blocked up badly. And let's see, Ashley Klein's the referee. Lord have mercy. There could be some mad decisions here. I'm not a giant Ashley Klein fan. I think he likes the mirror a lot, if you know what I'm talking about. And I don't think he's a great example of one of the better referees in the game. That's a personal thing I'm saying. So good luck to you, Klein. Hopefully you let the game flow a bit, but you never do. All right. Okay, let's get to the TAB here. see if we can find really good value here with the Penrith Brisbane game. $1.58 Brisbane, that's fairly good if you're having head-to-head. Penrith 240, a little bit skinny for mine. The last time they played it was 14-6 in round 18. It was a close one with Penrith winning by 8 points there. And anytime try scorer, Chethy Arthur is very skinny at $1.70. Put him to the side. Put him and Mariner to the side, $1.85. Mariner, although he scored well last week, it was just one of those games when they ran so many different try scorers in. He was just lucky to be there in the right place at the right time. Xavier Willison, God, I'd love to stand him out as a banker at 350. Xavier Willison, why am I looking towards you to stand you out? Adam Reynolds, will he score? Will he wait another couple of games? Billy Walters has been lethal of late, and he's still 6-1. Is he going to get the full run? Be interesting to see what the coach does. Madge, Jordan Ricky, not great value for a guy first run back from a spell. Liam Martin, is he going to finally stand up? He's been working his guts out lately and not getting the support. Blaze Talagi at 350. Isaac Targo at 325. Some good value here. Katoni Staggs missed by an inch last week of going over near the post. Dane Laurie, 250. Casey McLean, 250. All fairly good value. Selwyn Cobbo is 225. Is that not standing out at me? That's jumping out at me. Selwyn Cobbo, 225. Let's chuck him in as our banker. Selwyn Cobbo, 225. When do you get Cobbo not odds on? Chuck him in there. Selwyn Cobbo for Brisbane. And we're going to have Shibasaki at 3-1 as our second leg. As our third leg, Xavier Willison, as much as I wanted to have him as a banker. And I'd like to stick one more Brisbane Bronco in there. Let's chuck in. I'm tossing up between Billy Walters and Luke Somerton for Penrith. Let's stick in Billy Walters because I think it's going to be not a demolition, but I think they're going to score a few tries here. God, it could be tight and I could blow my money hardcore here, but I'm confident after last week. And we've got to chuck in at least one or two Penrith players for the fifth and sixth leg here. Let's chuck in Liam Martin for your fifth leg. And your sixth leg, I'm going to go Blaze Talagi here at 350, only because he's really good value. We're still waiting for To'o to come back, but he is not named even on the bench at this stage. Let's go to the last match and wrap this episode number 15 up. Melbourne versus Canberra. Now, this is probably the game of the round as the previous one and also the other interesting game that we mentioned earlier. Probably the three top games out of the 8 games. Melbourne at 153, Canberra 250. They're not. Are they taking any risk here? Let's have a look at the sides and see if there's any ins and outs that we really need to pay attention to, especially when it comes to anytime try score or defence. Sometimes losing a couple of good players can absolutely screw your defence or add to your defence. And let's have a look here at the ins and outs, the team lists. And it looks like Lasardi is back. Tui Kamakamika, what a monster he is. And Asofa Solomona is back. Could this be the linchpin that squashes Ricky's bugs from Canberra? It could be the monster. Don't know how much of a run he's going to get. I certainly can't see him playing the entire match. Russell Smith is back. Keegan Russell Smith. Let's see who's back for Canberra. Solu is back. Trey Mooney. I'm a big Trey Mooney fan. Danny Levi. I'm another Levi fan. Mania Waiatiri is also in. Okay. I think that's a big help getting Kamaka and the Giant back, Solomon Amona. Let's have a look at the value here. I'm leaning towards Melbourne here with those big forwards coming back. But Canberra, I'm not going to write them off. I honestly, if you held me at ransom for money, I would tip both sides at 1-12. I can't see either side dominating where it's 13 plus, unless Melbourne go to sleep in the second half like they have been. I really can't see that happening. But let's go to the TAB here and see if we can find some value in this last game before we wrap it up today. Running second on the ladder is Melbourne, and running a third is Canberra. Who would have ever thought at this time of the Magic Round and the early stage of the competition that they're right next to each other? Okay, Xavier Coates has come up skinny to $1.70. Fire Ligo at $1.80. Ryan Pappenhausen's getting out to a bit better value at $1.90. Not too bad. I wouldn't use that as a banker, but I'd use him as a leg just to cover most of my bets. Hudson Young could be the linchpin here. Is he going to get over amongst those giant forwards? That's the question. When he runs it just off the edge of that angle, like a Britton Nakora or a Katoa, Elise Katoa, then he's lethal. I'm not going to stand him out as a banker. I'm going to go Melbourne here because we're tipping Melbourne by that much. But I could easily tip Canberra and not feel any fear. And I'll be honest in saying that. But up there, I think they're going to put a little bit of a display on Melbourne, especially with those giant forwards coming back. God, it's a tough match. I'm going to stick with, I know he scored last week and he's let us down 2 or 3 weeks before that. I'm going to stand Elise Katoa as the banker at 265. There's your value, 5-2. Elise Katoa as the banker, because I think he's going to be around the edges and there's going to be a lot of bombs from Munster and possibly Pappenhausen. So let's chuck in Papa as our second leg here, Ryan Pappenhausen. I'm going a little bit wider here for Canberra at 225 Tamale as my third leg. As my fourth leg, I have to chuck in Sebastian Chris. Fifth leg, Hudson Young, 275. But let's swing it back to Melbourne now as that fifth and sixth leg. God, Ethan Strange has been playing out of his skin of late. I'm going to stick with Sean Bloor just off the edge here. Sean Bloor at 5-1. So there you go. There's all your tips. There's so many chances there. There's so many good games that could go either way. I can't see any of the games being 13 plus blowouts, but you never know. We are talking NRL. And best of luck, whatever you're doing. Hopefully we can continue the great winning form with the anytime try scorers. I'll be listening back to them and writing them down so it's official, so I can put them on. I think the least favourite out of the 8 games for mine, as far as a betting prospect is concerned, is the West Tigers and St George game. So you can stand out that if you haven't got enough to spread over the 8 games, stay away from that one. All right, guys. All the best until next week. We'll do a review. Whether Scotty's back from the coast at that stage, I don't know. He's taken a trip up to Cooma at the moment to drop off some vehicles. So whether he's back, it doesn't matter. We'll still do the review without him and get all of his information. You've got all his tips. Of course, he'll be very happy if the Broncos get up. That could be a very, very tight match. Best of luck, mate. The best sides win. And hopefully the rain stays away from Magic Round. And just reminding you that the NRLW, the second game It's not for a little while, but New South Wales have a lead of 1-0. Cop that, Scotty. But I copped it as well because I put his anytime try scorers on, which weren't seen. Tamika Upton is used to having Isabella Kelly and Surges on her side when she plays for Australia, but God, they were sadly lacking. And Bregginshaw had a hot and cold match, but no, not even the winger went over. Robinson. I needed her for the third leg because I had Isabella Kelly and Surges with Robinson as a beautiful, beautiful treble parlay there, or triple leg parlay. But most of your legs, I would suggest for you today, take those tips, have your banker, have them with the 3 or 4 legs straight out, and then spin your second, third, fourth, and fifth leg. And if you've got a bit of extra money from your first couple of legs, put in a sixth leg. If you've got one of those try scorers that can get under your skin, and you think if you leave him out, he's going to get you. All right, guys, all the best from Axel Phillips. Have a lovely weekend, and may the best sides win, and we collect the biggies. Bye now.